Do whatever. What's up?
What's up? I think Mr. Chase has been involved in some of what has gone on.
I've been there 10 times. I think I got an idea what's going on, but whatever.
Yeah, not with us for 10 times,
Before
but,
we
No.
get started, this is the Conservation Committee?
Yeah.
okay. And
Right.
then,
This is the extent of the Conservation Committee?
That's a quorum, yep.
Okay.
okay, just so you know, I know this is an informal meeting because we were waiting for feedback from the DCR, which we met with the DCR again. I also had an informal meeting with Jennifer. I happened to have the informal meeting because Mr. Miola was up there again at the access road doing more work. And I came in here, and I know Mr. Tigner went up there to check the work. So I had that informal meeting that day, and she said that probably everyone had to be in the same page from the building department to the Conservation Commission. That's what she had said to me. So we had a formal complaint written, which was to Conservation Commission and the building department. We didn't file it yet because I was trying to get advice from Jennifer on what to do, like, can we file a joint complaint? And she just got back to me on that Thursday, and I guess that was the last day to get on this.
And what'd you say? You can do that, right? I would think you can.
She said that we could. I guess Bill knows some of the story. Mr. Miola had been working on the land near his dairy for a while, I think,
Over a year.
over a year. You had gone up there to speak with him.
Well,
Oh,
in a nutshell,
Yes. This gentleman's name, please?
Frank.
Frank,
Frank, okay.
good luck spelling the last name.
That's okay, so long as I know I
It's not
can
the
find
same.
it on
That's
here,
what
you
it
know?
says.
Frank is good enough. Because of what I do, I'm a general contractor. I'm somewhat familiar with the proceedings. And in this area of building, I've always been taught and still practice what you people talk about with conservation is a no-fly zone for us. Meaning, we don't really question anything that has anything to do with waterways, watersheds, conservation land, or whatever. And I am amazed, a little frustrated, that in this day and age where transparency is so important and just about everything goes on, I don't know what transparency exists in this situation. From our perspective, from day one, there was an informal conversation between Joe Ursuleo, another one of the trustees who's not here, and Mark Miola, way back when, with some intentions of what he was going to do. I came home in September of 2022 to find a huge machine and an operator in Mark Miola dangerously close to our property line. No warning, no letter, no notice, no nothing. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So we had informed the building department that we were concerned that somebody was up there. We were told, and again, I'm just paraphrasing, there was a verbal okay from the town to remove 3 or 4 trees on a building nowhere near where he was, up on the hill, literally the garage behind his ice cream place and dairy. He had to be 200-300 yards from that destination. He informed me in no uncertain terms. He knew who my neighbor was. He was going about his business. He could do that. He didn't want to hear anything about it. And I'm like, whoa, I'm just finding out who you are and what you're doing. I had no idea he was Mark Miola, none. Put me on the defensive. Probably not the greatest thing in the world for him to do. And I'm being dead bones honest about everything that I'm saying, understanding your situation also. No permit. The town went up, told us, we issued a cease and desist.
Well, there's a little backstory there. You had talked to Mr. Miola, and then one day I was looking out my window facing the apartments on 256 Worcester Street, and I see tree after tree after tree coming down, multiple trees.
This is all that same time though, wasn't it?
No, this was before when they talked to Mr. Miola, because the work had been going up around the dairy for a
No,
while.
the very first time I talked to Mark Miola was when they
Before
had
the
just
trees-
started.
Yeah, before the trees came down.
Because my understanding when we got involved, or I got involved, which Matt made the board, because I was representing the board,
Right,
was when that machine had come and we had given him a cease and desist.
okay.
That was
Well,
when we came on
I
board.
mean, for the other people
So
on the
this is
board,
prior
this
to
is just
this.
this is one of the machines that was
Well,
on the
hang on,
property.
let me just, I
Technically
want to get the
speaking,
time frame.
there was one day after I met the operator and Mark Miola in the woods.
Okay.
I walked down to where they were.
And then at that point, you called me or you called
The
George?
next day, he continued working.
Okay,
And I went into the woods and counted 47 trees that were cut down.
Well, let's back up. The reason why they came to the property to look at the trees, and I guess it wasn't called a cease and desist, because he stopped work because the town asked him to. I think it was Mr.
Technically,
Tignoff.
he later said, George did, that it was a stop work order.
Stop work order, because, and I said
yeah,
to
he gave him
them.
an oral order when he went there,
Right.
and then he called me, and I think that's when we got
Right,
involved.
but there was, immediately, when I called the town, and I said, someone has to get up here and take a look at what's going on here, because there were trees coming, not only in the property abutting 256 Worcester Street, which is, when we look out, it's really our side, when we look out our front windows, but to the back, where it abuts where it abuts his land and the dairy is sitting up on the hill. There were trees coming down everywhere, not only trees, not only big trees, but also the smaller trees and all the brush that was coming out of there. So George came up and put a stop order on him.
Right,
And I think it was after that point
that's
that,
when we entered in, and then I met with you.
and me.
And Joe.
And Joe Ursuleo.
Okay.
And Mr. Mueller at one.
All right, so that's when we're coming involved here. So the
Okay.
damage is already done prior to.
The damage is done, okay? And he took trees down, not only on our property, probably around 3 big mature trees in the secondary water zone. He took lots of trees down on the healthy, mature trees that are abutting the, where he's trying to put the access road in.
Did you say he took your trees now?
He
took our
he
trees
admitted
down.
to.
He admitted to.
We pointed out
His-
trees that were outside the flagged area, 3 trees.
There's the
He goes,
picture.
we shouldn't have done that.
There's-
That's my bad.
Yeah, I don't know who surveyed for him, or how the surveyor came in, if it was, I mean, I've gone through.
Evidently, because I tried to get the surveyors, because I wanted a survey print, and not one exists.
Okay, this is,
Surprise.
this is me looking at the bylaws, I know nothing about.
Let me get this straight
It's
then.
just me looking.
Those are your trees that he,
Three of the trees near our property.
On our property.
His operator mistakenly probably cut ones down. Like he probably cut a tree here, and we had 3 here, and he took these 3 down.
I see.
And his excuse was, I guess they got carried away,
Oh, well,
okay?
too bad. huh?
And I talked to DCR, we had a meeting with Bernadette at DCR, she came down to the property, and I called her again to confirm what she had said to me, because I heard about, the town administrator said to me there was supposed to be some letter coming from the DCR, and I asked Bernadette if we could get this letter, see this letter, and she told me how to go about it, but then I called her again to see if what she said to me, I understood correctly. And she said that they have more control over the primary water zone, You have more control over the secondary. They're very concerned about what Mr. Miola is doing with that access road because it gets very close to the primary water zone.
We actually walked, and I had GPS down there so I could figure out what the actual lines are
Okay,
and where the damage is.
yep,
So I know exactly where it is, but I don't have it in print,
okay.
because we actually had the GPS, I
So
had the
if
unit.
Mr., I mean, I don't know, he has the right to do what he wants on his property, okay? It's his property, but everyone has to follow the bylaws and standards that are put out. And I don't know, did he have, I mean, you can see the damage that is done. If you look at the smaller picture and you see the land that is moved, that doesn't look like dirt that's fresh dirt that is moved. That picture was taken about the time you came up. You can see there's a You can see that
Boundary marker.
there's a boundary marker, but there's also the dairy, and then behind them
Now,
is
where
the
is he from
garage.
here? Up here?
What, this is, if you're standing here, you're standing on, this is our
This
property.
is your grass.
This is our grass, and
So his
this is
dairy is like here?
his
And the
dairy.
apartment is here?
The apartment would be here, our condo complexes would be here. He owns land, the apartment, I also looked up the plan, like, you know, you have the map.
Right.
From the apartments, his land goes here, and then this piece goes up to the dairy. So there's a piece of parcel of land here where the apartments are, a parcel of land behind, on his dairy and behind his dairy. So this, by all accounts, if he had it surveyed, that's his boundary. This is our property, and this is where he took out the mature trees.
Oh, I see.
Okay, which he took out lots of other trees and brush. Okay, so the mature trees are one thing, taking
Yeah,
all
and
that
just
out.
To underscore, Donna's done a great job for us, fact finding. Again, I'm gonna use the word transparent. There has never been one time and any act on Mr. Miola's part to acquiesce. None. He has insulted us, been fairly nasty to us individually, as a group. All we wanted was to be treated fairly for our concerns, and that has never happened. So when I see technical things wrong, I'm gonna bring my technical expertise to bear. I wish Mr. Miola would have, to be perfectly honest, would have allowed Mr. Chase to work together as a group. I think I'm not gonna put words in his mouth, I think that was headed in that direction. And from what we were told, there was a kibosh put on any agreement, any arrangement, anything we were talking about to appease us and let Mr. Miola go on his way legally. And that, to this very second, is what annoys the 7 homeowners up on the hill.
But when you say legally, I mean, these are the bylaws and the site plans that you need. And I don't know when you have to have a preliminary site plan or get a site plan review, but from what I
I
understand.
believe he's already, and again, I'm not speaking for him, this is just starting. I believe that's already been done and it was approved. Don't know that, and I haven't got I can get that documentation.
Well, we would like
That's
that
why we wanted you
documentation.
in here, so we could find
Right,
out
but
what it is.
it's, a lot of this work that was done was before he had that approved. That wasn't, because when I came down here to get permits that he had pulled, there was nothing. And at
Well,
that
again,
point-
you got timeframes here, so there's only 3 years I can go back.
Right, it's
So
very,
if we're in that timeframe,
yeah, it's very
fine.
interesting that they put a cease and desist or whatever, they put a stop work order on him for a year, and all of a sudden, a year to the day, he's back doing that access road.
We did that because we figured he was gonna do whatever he was doing for permitting.
Okay,
Now, that's what this board did through George. George is our code enforcement.
okay.
He doesn't work for us, he just does the code, the dirty work.
So
So,
he
Bill,
does,
you probably don't know, I'm sure you don't, when Bernadette came up, they were very concerned, her words, not mine, about the amount of sediment coming down the recently clear-cut remainder of the access road.
That's correct.
And I find it really interesting that on the Friday or Saturday after our meeting with Bernadette, she made a point of saying over and over again, they were not pleased with the amount of sediment that had worked its way with erosion when you clear cut and when water, whatever happens. And on a Saturday afternoon, I'm at the front of my house, I open the garage door and I'm like, what the hell is that sound? So I hear a piece of equipment, so my radar goes up, I look down, I go, what the hell are they doing down by the apartment complex? I jumped in my truck, drove down the road, looked up, somebody's got a leaf blower blowing the sediment and all the stuff back up into the woods. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna turn around and guess who happened to turn around and look me dead in the face? Didn't know who I was because he doesn't know my truck. Mark Miola. He was the one with the leaf blower.
Well, I had met with Bernadette probably prior to her meeting with you and Miola. And that was one of the concerns that we had. I had already mentioned it to him before. He had put in one wattle down below. And then, she said she wanted some more wattle. I don't have disagreement, that's fine. So that was it. So she wanted it cleaned up, which is the cleanup you're talking about. And so he did that part. I went down to look at it, I'm saying later on in that week, because we had a big rainstorm coming. And, I said, yeah, that's good, but that's not gonna work. You know, I'd like to see a couple more wattles going up that hill, because this stuff's coming.
I mean, I know enough, that's a ski slope,
Yeah, oh,
is
yeah.
what he created.
Yeah, we're talking something that's probably, 50% grade, coming right straight down.
Well,
It's,
you know,
it's
in
straight like this.
Talking about the sediment there, and I don't know if he has a site plan that you think that he may have had it approved already? Is that what you think?
I'm thinking he must have done something, but
Because,
this is way before. In other words, this is more than 3 years ago. He did whatever he did. That road has been there.
oh, no,
right along.
I'm not questioning the access road, although, we'll talk about, there's an agreement that was inadvertently, that I inadvertently got by coming to the town. But if, like, there's all kinds of rules and regulations about runoff and flow and drainage.
Right, and
All kinds of
he
things.
right now, today, is compliant with what we wanted done.
He is complying.
He is compliant.
Okay, so what about what he did on our property, taking out the trees and all that kind of stuff?
That I don't know. That I gotta prove, what is your property, what is his property, and I need the trees. We don't have any pictures, 'cause they weren't there when I was there. They were just laying on the ground. So I know there were trees taken down, for sure.
So this picture doesn't mean anything?
Oh,
That-
no, that's not my point. I just need to know where the lines are, then we'll go out and walk the actual property.
Okay,
I don't need pictures, I'm gonna go see it, I wanna see it.
right, but, and you say you can't get a survey, if he did this work, he should have had a Massachusetts licensed surveyor doing the surveying,
That's correct. So someone must have surveyed this property at some point in time, because if he went to planning, which is where this is gonna get this permit, they have to have it certified. I don't have that.
So who does?
So he,
Well, we probably have it in town, but the obligation is really gonna be to Mr. Miola. I met with you, because I didn't wanna get in a big argument tonight.
No, no, no.
I don't wanna be a referee.
Do you know what?
This
I-
just adds, in my opinion, to the lack of transparency, I'm gonna keep using this word, on his behalf. He stuck you in an awful position, awful.
Well, you know, again, where you gonna go? Conservation is conservation, and this comes under conservation. I don't have a problem with that.
but the site plans and his planning would come under the building department.
I wanted to have you in first, because I wanted to find out what the actual complaint is, because I've heard all kinds of stuff. So now I'm hearing it right from you, so now I know
Well,
what it
if
is.
you wanna be honest about where we're sitting, we do need to talk about the letter that was signed by me,
Right.
Mr. Miola, that you
Yep.
presented to myself and Joe
Because
Ursuleo.
I thought we had an agreement.
Right, but I find it interesting, very interesting. One person missing in this equation, and believe me, I deal with them all the time. Where in the hell's the building commissioner? His letterhead, his signature, he drafted the letter, he initialed our signatures afterwards, and
He
it's
never
like
met with us.
persona non grata. Nobody in
No,
our
I
place.
witnessed it. I'm a notary, so we're all set there.
Okay.
He is my enforcement officer, so technically he works for this board. He does a lot of other things too, but one of the hats he wears is the enforcement part of this board. So that's how he's getting involved.
You know, I just wanna backs up a little bit. If he has a site plan, it says stormwater management, grading, all of that. I mean, he did a lot of work back there.
Right.
I mean, and I know has been a tremendous amount of rain this year. I
Right.
understand that, and we're in flood zone. But how much has contributed? I mean, if he didn't have an engineer out there looking at the land, where this flow was gonna be, how it was going to erode, all of that kind of stuff.
Well,
We are getting,
originally he would have had an engineer who would have given us those answers. We get the answers before we do the work.
okay.
That's how he got his permit.
Well, I mean, that's what
I'm
I'm trying to
assuming, because he
find.
did fill up there, he did grading up there.
When I went to pull the permits, when it was around the time that you came up there.
Right.
There was no permits that had any mention of that, and they went through the permits.
Well,
from the building
that's gonna be his obligation, so now that'll be one of our questions.
Where's
So
your
when you
permits?
bring him in, show me a surveyor. I need to see these lines, I have to know what's what.
We are getting a tremendous amount of sediment coming down the backside into our drainage.
Oh, I built.
That's down in the driveway, yeah.
Well, we
Driveway.
finally just bit the bullet and did it.
We spent a great deal
But
of money.
a lot of
to-
that problem is your other neighbor.
Well, it's,
Yeah, but-
we actually know, I could probably tell you the percentage. Some is coming from the church, no doubt about it, but there is a stream coming down from the other.
Oh, I'm sure. I've got water that came down there, and you put an abutment here, and the water went both sides. I got that part.
And if you're changing, if you look at all the backfill, I mean, I know you need a permit to move so much amount of earth too, correct?
Yeah, but I'm on the earth board and he's under that. That part I know. But
Okay.
I believe he has filled more than what he is allowed to.
Okay, I know
I
he
don't know
did-
that, I think that.
He did some backfill, I guess there was a hole up there, and some of this is that there was trash.
That
put
was
from the
like
dairy.
10, well, I don't know about trash.
I don't know if it was trash or, I don't know what was in there, but he did
10
backfill.
years ago, maybe 12 years ago, he came and I went up there and he was getting, I believe it was from the sewers, so it's probably even longer than that. And he was taking the fill from the sewers. And I told him, and again, it's not my purview, but it was conservation, that's how I got my 2 cents in. And I said, I have no problems if you put it in lifts of a foot, and then I want to compact it. And I need an engineer, if you're smart, you don't have to do this, but if you're smart, you would have an engineer come in and okay it every foot that you fill. That way, it's what they call virgin land, and you can go build, you don't have to do compaction studies and everything. Whether he did that or not, that I don't know. But that was my advice to him at that time.
So,
Like we said, there's been a tremendous amount of rain, but we have had so much sludge this year down the bottom, and it's just, I'm not a conservationist.
it's mainly coming from the apartment. I literally built 2 little rock dams
All right.
up the road to keep water still gets through, but you can see the sediment.
But one of our things was he was gonna chip that wood, and he was gonna spread it to solidify that banking. And I don't believe that's been done.
Good luck with that bank. Good luck.
But you just say the amount of land that was moved, the amount of equipment that was in there, the amount of trees that were taken out, it had to affect the water flow. I mean, there's underground, it has to be underground streams there. It had to somehow affect the water flow.
Actually, it was dry when I looked at, but again, I looked at it in the summer.
Right.
So July,
And now
August,
if you
September,
look,
those are your
and
3
now if you
months.
look at it, it is covered by weeds. That's why I brought this picture, to show the mound of dirt that was there.
Right.
And his,
Well, the first thing we need, just from this conversation, is we gotta establish the line. I need it flagged, I gotta see it.
and that's for him
Well,
to.
That's a him, that has nothing to do with you.
Well,
Okay.
conveniently, all the boundary markers along the access road that he just finished clearing and by the apartments in those streets, every single one of them's there, near our property
Okay.
line.
Well, the one I'm talking about is when I was standing on the land.
There's only one boundary marker left.
All the rest,
One.
well, I
They're all
showed you,
gone.
I showed you the original
Well,
red
it's up to him
one.
to put them back in.
I know it's up to him.
That's gonna be part of his defense.
That's, yeah.
Bill, somehow we're asking the town to say, listen, you need to, you're doing something, notify you and you can notify us. This has all been surprises, like, we're all on alert. It's like Donna hears something, calls Joe, Joe's hears something, he calls me. We're on alert because we have a, in our opinion, a bothersome abutter neighbor who's just believes that he can do what he wants within reason because we all know who he is.
But
We're
we-
not stupid.
But we don't feel that it is within reason. I don't, maybe he does have the site plans. I thought abutters were notified if a big projects was going on too.
Again, it would be in his plan and use it as so many days prior to the start of work. You know, building inspector, myself, whoever is involved would see it. A lot of times we have meetings prior to construction, start of construction.
Yeah.
So we lay out the laws and this is what
There's
we're
all
gonna do.
kinds of,
Yeah,
there's all kinds of boundary lines and
Right.
setbacks and lights and
So
all
this is
kinds of
stuff that I don't
things.
know, I'm not
Water
privy to.
flow, all kinds of erosion, all of that stuff
That's
that's
what
in
we
the
wanna do
bylaws.
in to get
Does
the
the
complaint.
Conservation Committee have the authority to say in a letter, whatever you're gonna say? I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, and ask for compliance from him. Because I think if you had issues with us, we'd be getting a letter.
Well, the first thing we need is the violations. The other thing is, we have to determine whether we even have purview here.
Or it's the building department.
Oh, no.
The building, yeah, they would be an enforcement for the planning, this would be under planning. So, yeah, George is just a cop. All right,
Okay.
let's just call him like, he's a cop, unless there's building, there's no building, we're talking land.
Yep.
So, it's gonna be planning board, it's gonna be us, it could be appeals, I don't really know what was done, I don't know the history.
But there should be, if he's.
There's
if
gonna be
he's-
paperwork somewhere.
If he's planning on developing something, from what I hear from many sources, even the town administrator, the word was he was putting a mini golf course up there,
I've heard that also.
okay? So if that's his intention, if he has done
Which
work,
was really the
he has done
the birth of that letter. And I told him, because he wasn't talking to you at the time.
He still isn't talking.
And I went over and I,
Well, he is talking to me, but that's all he said was last time he was doing work, and I came down to the town hall, and that's when George went up there again. And I said to him, please, Miss Miola, do not take any more trees out on our property. And he called me, you people have caused me enough problems. That was his answer to me.
oh, again, I just want to do the letter real
Okay,
quick.
this is the letter.
Right.
And George signed it, and it said 50 to 100-foot zone. I mean, this, to be honest with you, I got this letter by mistake. I came down here to ask for permits that were pulled by Mr. Miola to see, did he pull any site plans, did he pull permits, what is?
I gave a copy
What?
to you or the other guy, one or the other.
No, not this letter.
Just listen to her.
Oh, okay.
I came down here to do that, and I was 250 Worcester Street. The secretary at the time, who wasn't the same one that came down last time, said to me, I thought that was already agreed upon. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she pulled this letter out from the file cabinet
Right.
that we had never seen before.
You had not seen.
Well, Frank signed something, but did you sign this?
Well, I never saw the copy of this until she pulled it.
Can I see it?
Sure. Go ahead. You can just see, my notes are on there. But, you know, Mr. Tigno went up there, and he said that he was in compliance doing the road, and
Sorry?
right there, it said he signed to a 50 to 100-foot abutment. If you look there, and Mr. Tigno went up there, it was a couple Fridays ago, when I saw him again up there, and, Mr. Tigno said, well, no, he's in compliance. Mr. Tigno signed a letter that that Mr. Miola signed, that there had to be, an area, what is it called? A buffer zone.
Well, that was one of the things we agreed on.
Right, and he's.
In the
doing-
letter.
Right, on our
But as
property.
far as he's concerned, it doesn't exist to him because it's not, it was just a private agreement. The town can't come down and tell him, or you, that you gotta do this or that. This really kind of was.
So
a-
I guess I'm confused. What is the point of that letter? What was the
The
point
point of the
his
letter is,
signature?
I was trying to be a nice guy, trying to resolve because you guys didn't talk. I talked to both of you.
Right,
And it seemed like it was going along nicely, and we were gonna put in some trees, this and that, I was gonna get you some extra trees, we were gonna do,
that's
had a
exactly what we
drain down
have.
front. and-
That's exactly what we have written down here
Yeah.
from our
Right,
contemporaneous
and
notes.
all of a sudden, it was, F you, and then, that's it, I'm
Well,
done.
that,
So that kinda wiped me out.
that FU didn't come from us. It
No,
came
no,
from Mr.
no, no,
Miola.
that came from the other side, that's
Yep.
true.
And I think it
And all-
was,
and unfortunately, Mark sometimes, as limited amount of time as I've known him, in the building world, and you probably know better than anybody at this table besides me, it's about trying to get along, complying, not to the nth degree at all times, but within jurisdictional guidelines.
Correct.
Mark doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand, you know what? I had an agreement, the words came out of his mouth, this is what we're going to do, and he threw a lowball offer at us for his monetary contribution to the destruction. We got two unattached landscape people
I have a copy
to
of
come out
those.
and give us
I
quotes.
think one was 20 and one was.
One was
26.
22,000, one was 26,000.
And we
He
did-
exploded.
we didn't say that that's what we were gonna, we wanted him
We
to
just showed him
realize
to him.
the type of damage that he
Well,
had
yeah,
done.
and that's when I got that response.
Exactly.
So that's kinda
So
when I
what?
was out of it at that point.
He's
then-
taking his football and going home to play?
Then there was an agreement to cut down some trees to remove the sediment from the bottom of the driveway. There was things that we discussed.
Right.
That it was like,
And if most of that would have happened, we sure as hell would be sitting here today. We just wanted to be treated fairly. We would appreciate, we think he sneaks around. We have no reason to believe any other, because none of this ever came to our attention. As a neighbor, you know, if you're gonna, like, you have a situation where you're gonna put a fence in, Bill, you border me, this is the fence I'm putting in.
Yeah.
You're okay with it? There was no conversation, there's still no conversation, because I got no reason to believe this is anything other than, he's Mark, he's a Miola, and he thinks it's okay to do what he's doing, and it's not. This is
The
not
only
the
thing
way.
we're asking for him is to follow the bylaws and the things for drainage and, you know, because if it's a detriment to our property, then he shouldn't be doing that. I don't want him not to develop his land, he has the right to do
Well,
it.
the whole purpose
he
of the
has to
letter
do it.
and trying to get you guys together, and the reason that he actually talked to me, is because, I said, if you're gonna go forward with this project you had going up there, it would behoove you to get along with your neighbors. Doesn't appear that they're looking for a lot of stuff here, you know, just clean up the trees and be done. I'll get rid of the cease and desist, which I did, so he could clean it up, and then for whatever reason, it was like 6, 7 months later, we got the guy back to do it, you know, clean up the trees and that. And we went back 2 more times after that. I went back with DCR twice, and I went back with DEP.
And it's really funny, because when DCR, the 2 trees that he was, that are a danger to the apartment building,
Oh, house killers.
are the
Those
only
2
2
times.
trees he didn't take down. And Bernadette from DCR said, I don't understand. He took all these healthy trees down every which way, and he didn't take the trees that were a detriment to the apartments down.
I think that he might, and again, don't quote me, 'cause I'm usually pretty good though.
I think he said they weren't on his property, they were leaning on your property, but not,
No, not those.
those are on his property.
They're on the other side of the access road.
If they fall, goodbye apartment complex.
Oh, no, I got it.
They're apartment killers.
And those
Oh,
are
we did
his
have-
trees.
Correct.
We did have trees from it fall onto our property, and I know in Massachusetts it's your responsibility if they
Right.
fall on your property. But after he
I mean,
took,
trees like that you should do right now.
after all the trees that he took out, all of a sudden, there's no stability in the ground, and some of the trees now falling down.
Well, as long as the roots are in there, he hasn't changed any of that.
Well-
Stability in the ground is stability in the ground.
That's why we don't allow him taking roots,
You don't,
even in the secondary zone, which that is. But see, we don't have, I tried to get the tree
the-
bylaw put in, and I couldn't get it passed here.
to what?
You have to come get permits to cut trees down. We don't have that in this town.
Really? I've seen some on the, I looked up the commission, like the hearings, and I've seen several,
That was
several,
because they had to get a permit, so they made that part of the agreement.
right, there was several hearings about
But there's
getting
no
permits.
permits here, that's the problem.
Because Mr. Viola went in like a bull in a china closet and just wiped everything out.
Well, again, and I have to do more research, but from what I'm seeing, this is on private property, which the town can't go on. I'm just trying to resolve what I look at as trivial problem here. You know, I'm outside, I don't live there, so I understand where you're coming from.
But this to me seemed like, you know, $5 grand, cut the trees, well, what's your problem? You got a multi-million-dollar project you're trying to put in here. Why would you aggravate these people? That's where I come from.
So what
What's our
What
next?
can you do to
Well,
influence?
Well, now that I
him?
know what you want, and if you have the complaint, I won't show it to them, but, you know, I'd like to see in print exactly what it is. If you don't mind giving it to us, unless you wanna hold, which is fine.
I have, which I have the attachment. The attachment we had was what I gave you, the scenario of
So-
what had happened.
The letter you just, we,
Yeah.
actually, we have
We
it
have
in
the
the
letter.
package.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't
Not that
know.
letter. It was this we had attached to the.
That's.
Oh, okay. I didn't see
That's
that.
a
That's
diary. from
kind of
day
synopsis
one.
of what had happened.
We'll print them up
So
after.
this is the history of what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I guess, Bill, what, like, maybe this isn't under the Conservation Commission, but all of these bylaws that he's supposed to be abiding by, I mean, it's very clear to see that there's you have to watch out for drainage and storm and all kinds of things.
But again, what he's doing is he's just doing it, and no one's telling us, so we don't know, and now that it's done,
So what is that, like, it's easier to just do it and say sorry after than get permission?
Well, that's the old, why ask for permission when they can ask for forgiveness, yeah, you're exactly right, that's
We
where
don't
that's
wanna
coming
give
from.
him,
what
so
would-
like, what does
would
the town
be
do
the
to
next
enforce that?
step that he legally has to take to do anything more on that access road?
Or the land behind us?
The access road is a dead issue. The fire chief was down there today, I met with him, wanna know why he was even there. But that was because of Jen, so Jen brought him down, and basically, there's no access, that was the deal, that is never gonna be used. It can be used as an emergency road if there was a building ever put up above. One of the codes you have in building is you have to be able to drive a fire engine around the building.
Not on that road.
That's my point.
That's never gonna happen.
And that's what he said, because you can't lodge it, because you're gonna move soil which is inadmissible on that lot. He can't, and that's why George went down, like 2 weeks ago, in that rainstorm, big rainstorm. And he stopped him from work, it was on a Friday.
Correct.
And he
Well,
stopped-
that's probably because of me, because I was down here complaining to
Right.
Jen, and she called, because that's
So I get a call
that's
from
his day
Judge,
off.
Judge
Judge's day
is
off, and
screaming
what
off
they
the
just-
chandeliers, and going, well, I said, what are you done it for?
So, when I do something like that, in this situation, I'm getting more than yelled at and slapped at, I'm in trouble. What influence can you have when he knowingly did what he did, and now you're telling me as of today, the fire department said, "Pfft,"
Yeah,
is he,
The first
with
time
all
he-
due respect,
according to him,
is he
that's
the
the first time.
dumbest businessman on the planet?
No, well, I'm not going down that road. The fire department said you can't use the road,
So we spent money for nothing?
but we already knew that.
Oy, 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 oy.
We already knew you couldn't use it. It was an old farm road evidently to go.
Right, and once in a while, you used to see his tractors go up the road.
Right.
Which is
So
fine.
he, as an owner, could do that. Nobody else can.
Right, that's
He could.
that's what Jen had said to me.
I will tell you this, if you ever take those sandbags down that are on the road,
Yeah.
not down below, you will have a waterfall.
Well, he's gotta come up with a plan to stabilize that. And oh, it can be done, and it's not gonna be cheap for him, but that's not my problem. My problem is not having the soil come down and contaminate the gates.
So when you, or the conservation committee, I'm not trying to zero in on you, we just know you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Are
sorry.
we made aware of what you're going to do?
yeah, I'm gonna meet with him, based on this, gonna read this, see what it is, the board will tell me what we want for questions.
Okay.
We'll bring him in just like we brought you in, what are you gonna do? And then the board will meet again, along with Jen and the other people that are involved, and we'll say, okay, what's the town wanna do?
You know, just reading, if he has a site plan, just reading all the stipulation about stormwater management and the excess, the flow of things, I mean, I did kind of do my homework to read this stuff.
No,
I
nothing
mean,
wrong with
there are a lot of restrictions that
Yep.
he has to follow.
Yep.
And a meeting from abutting our property, and he's in one side's a primary water zone and we're a secondary water zone now.
That's correct.
And if he starts moving things, we're getting a lot of water, a lot of sludge, which we're concerned about, because eventually more water comes down. We spent quite a bit of money, we were repeating this.
Well, if you
Quite a
have
bit
a
of
chance,
money.
you'll see what we paid a significant amount of money
To put a
to the
drainage.
left of that access road to
All
the
that
church.
sludge that came down, and it's like, well, if he had a site plan and he had the proper drainage and there was a engineer there, maybe it wouldn't have been as bad. of
Again,
what we're
I don't
getting.
know of anything outside of putting soil in, that's the only thing I know he's entitled to do. All the rest of it, I don't know about, he asked me about the trees, and he showed me what he was taking. And matter of fact, I think the ones he showed me, the only ones are still up. He's putting pine trees down by that apartment, because they were falling on the roof.
Right, which,
And
because DCR said, well, he's gonna take well, first of all, those aren't on our property, they have nothing to do with our property, and they're a danger to the apartments.
And
those are
we
the only-
actually told you and
Yeah.
him, I said,
And that was part
those
of
are
the
house
understa- that was
killers.
part of
You
the
wanna take
understanding.
those down, take them down. Because
Right.
if they go that way, goodbye building.
But again,
Instead,
now,
and I don't know what the laws are in Massachusetts, but when you're taking trees down on a property line, some of the big mature trees that he took down, he
Right.
took quite a few down on the property line, or what we could see where his little tags were at the time. There's a stone wall there that kind of marks it off.
That's what I thought was it, yeah.
Right, and there's trees right
'Cause we had it on a
slap
computer
dab in the
and we were
middle.
using the satellite,
So half
so we
of
were
the
walking
trees are
across
on
the
our property and half on his.
The ones to the side of the last unit, where the trees are, that ours, that he took down, the three, that cluster,
Right,
none of the markers, other than the one on the pillar, are still there. They're all gone.
so we'll require that he put those back in before we make a final decision. And certain things I gotta have there, you know, how many trees we're gonna take down, you know, in addition, and make it all part of one agreement, what you're looking for. Let's
So
get
as
a
far
final
as,
agreement.
so he did not have permission to take 40-something trees down?
No, he did not mention that. He mentioned he's taking down some trees, and I told him, don't clear cut, that's stupid. I can't stop him from doing that, but what it does, it gets rid of the stabilization in the ground.
Okay, I guess that's a better word of what I was talking about, I don't know the
Right.
right words.
No, that's fine,
The
that's fine.
stabilization in the ground, if you take out that many trees,
He's not allowed to take out the roots, that's why they have to stay there.
So after listening to you, which I'm sure he did, maybe sometimes he didn't, he clear cut the rest of the,
He told me,
Access road? Well,
he
that's
told me
clear cut,
that
trust me, it's clear.
he went someplace, and when he came back, all these trees were down. So, I don't know.
that and 50 cents could you get
his,
a cup of
his,
coffee?
when we were meeting, his answer was, I guess my guys got carried away. Like, yeah, but you can't go back and put mature trees back.
That's why I always wanted a permit to take trees down, not just in the wetlands. I think, you know, you
Especially
owe
on
it to the
someone else's
community.
property. Or
I mean, on my
abutting
street, I
someone
have
else's
all
property.
these old oaks and everything. I wouldn't want them cut down. I can't stop anybody. There's no wetlands there, but I.
No, but
it's
again-
how
In
do
our
we-
case, there is wetlands.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The point I'm really trying to drag home is, he doesn't listen to anybody, and someone has to go, all right, here's, and it's gotta be a letter or something from you folks, we gotta know what the plan is, if he wants to meet us, we wanna go away too, I got better things to do than this.
No, I got it, I got it. So we're gonna meet with Mark, hopefully we'll
And,
figure it
you know-
out, but next Monday,
Mark placed himself off as a victim. He's not the victim here, because that was his property, and he's the one that acted like a bull in a china closet, taking all this stuff down. And he's obviously angry because we are questioning what.
well,
he
all we
wants.
wanna do is be compliant with the law and try to, you know,
So you're
have
gonna,
everybody get along.
you're gonna go look into what he has for site plans, or if he has site plans, or?
Yeah, we're gonna bring him in, I'll ask him, you know, what do you got? Here's my questions, now that I know what you want, which I kinda knew anyway. That's why we had the letter. I thought we had a deal. I thought this was all done. Which is why the building inspector had it. I said, tell George, don't worry about it. Here's the letter. We're all set, done. And then nothing happened.
I mean, as he moves forward, we don't want any further construction, further damage to our property too, if he's.
There's not gonna be anything done until something's in print now.
Okay,
Now
so
we're all
he's
done.
gonna have the proper drainage, he's gonna have everything
He's gonna have whatever this town requires.
Okay,
I only
well,
can
it's-
speak for this board.
right, okay,
I know what he needs because I'm a builder.
right.
Retired, but my brain isn't, it's just tired, it's not retired.
So he has to abide by all the storm management, earth removal, the erosion, all that kind of stuff, he has to.
He would have to go through planning. some
So,
of
you're
it
gonna
would
meet
be-
with him,
Right.
there'll be some sort of offer, no offer on his part.
Well, he's gonna have to, yeah, all the stuff we want, the questions.
Right.
He's gonna have to answer the questions first. And then the other stuff we want, such as the property line, this and that. You know, maybe we can get into, okay, if you were gonna get a settlement, what would you do? Like we did with the letter. And see if we can resolve it that way.
Is it in there, of how much you spent to fix what you've done?
No.
Oh,
so far.
the drainage at the bottom, we can give you a number, because, yeah, that's.
We have a
We
bill
have
for that.
I think.
That's fine, whatever you guys want.
You have a rough
Joe
number?
Ursuleo just got back, he paid the bill.
Yeah, if you could
Had
just,
to.
We're curious.
just send it over to Tony.
And-
Yeah, rough number's close enough.
We, it was a good thing we did it with all that rain.
Oh, good.
And I just said, like, it probably would have been a lot worse, but, like I said, my question is, and my concern is he gonna follow through and follow all the restrictions that the town
Well, he's
puts on?
gonna have to, or he's not gonna touch the land. But the land still isn't stabilized. It's stabilized with the wattles and everything, but that's a temporary measure.
Right,
We haven't gone after him because I was waiting to find out where we're going with this,
okay.
so.
And now are you gonna look into the drainage on the other side too? Like,
I'm looking into the whole piece of property now.
okay, what's coming?
The only one we were looking at, it was the apartment, but now the other one seems to be involved too, so now we're gonna look at the other one. Two different laws, because one's residential, one's commercial, totally different thing.
Okay.
And commercial's more stringent than residential.
Is it,
Yeah, you know, last time I'll say it, I remember when I moved in there, I was third person in back in the day. And I still remember the EPA sign on the
Yep.
dead tree up front. It was there, and I'm like, holy. And I remember Joe Evangelista, 2 falls in a row, going in there with the EPA, and I'm like, holy crap. To me, that's like, don't touch it. We were told, don't you touch anything in there. That's a no-fly zone is what I call it.
Well, that was another person when I came in like 30 years ago, was very marginal, and now he's one of my best builders, believe it or not. He complies with everything, guy's perfect. I know people don't want to hear that, but he is.
what,
Paper-wise,
what
he's
building are you
unbelievable.
talking about?
He's built a ton of buildings
Oh, oh,
around the town, it's just, he was the forgiveness routine. You know, well, I didn't know, you know, and then just pick an excuse, it didn't make any difference. But over
Well, you
there,
know, and there's another sign that was put up at the same time, and I'm like, okay, so no dumping in there, don't go in there, we're not allowed in there, and then we see this happen, and it just keeps happening. This wasn't a, you know, a fly-by-night, one-time event. This has been going on since September of 2022.
And to be honest with you, the work he was doing up at the dairy, we couldn't see, because there was all trees there, we didn't see anything. Once he took all the trees down, you could see all the mounds.
but again, that's the fault of the town, and that's an individual on his property. He can do what he wants. I don't agree with that, but I'm just a citizen here too.
Right,
I can mow my lawn, I don't have to mow my lawn.
right.
You know, you as neighbors
But
would
by-
prefer I mow my lawn.
Bylaws are bylaws, he still has to follow the rules
That-
and
that's true.
regs of the town.
That's true.
It's not like you can go in there and say,
But that thing has been kind of like dirt for at least 10, 15 years that I know of.
although that dirt looks pretty fresh up there to me, if you look at those pictures, there's no weeds, there's no nothing, there was no nothing.
Nothing's gonna grow there,
Yeah.
it's all sand and fill that he keeps bringing in. But he never goes over the 500 yards, so I can never touch him. You know, that's the earth removal, whether you take it out or you bring it in.
Okay,
So he's always just under that.
So you can hold his feet to the fire with whatever agreement is worked out.
We'll try to get an agreement, but first of all, we gotta hear his side and see what his defense to these questions
So
is.
whenever we get there,
Right.
you enforce that or the town enforces it?
We would enforce our part, which would be the trees and the drainage and that.
And then what role does the town play?
They enforce what we want done. And then it's building permits after that,
okay. And
which we
they're-
have nothing to do with
right,
that.
they're in
Does he know what
charge.
an application for a building permit looks
He
like?
does, because I have a couple that he
He's,
put a
he's
roof.
built before, so he knows what.
I mean, he has, permits I had was like him putting a new roof on his barn for his cows. It was
Oh,
like,
that's
it was
just
like stupid
standard
things,
stuff,
like,
yeah.
I'm like, well, there's no tree removal, there's no nothing. There's nothing, no site plans, no, nothing like that, that I pulled, which was probably a little while ago.
Right.
What he's done in between, I don't know.
The only thing I know about was the fill, because he's been doing that for years, and he's always under. So that's probably why you don't see any weeds up there, because nothing's gonna grow in what he's
So
putting in there.
he knows that he's meeting with the committee next Monday?
I gave him a tentative date, because I don't know when they can meet. If I can meet him this week, I would meet him this week.
And then there's missing members. Are they gonna be at the meeting?
We send out a thing and they
How
come.
many
they
people
don't
are on the
come.
committee?
It's 5 and 2, right?
What's,
Yeah,
what's
7.
five? What's five?
I have 2
Reserve
Two.
and 5 active.
So
5 actually here, and then I have associates.
So Mr.
You have a
Tigner,
bench?
I have a bench. I got a bench.
This is the all-star.
It's a very weak
they're
bench.
the ones that
but I
show
have a
up all
bench.
the time. So Mr. Tigner is bound to make him follow the bylaws of the town. I mean,
Well,
it's his
no.
responsibility.
He's a cop for intentional purposes. One of the committees is gonna make a complaint, or the selectman, or the town administrator.
Has to make him
They
complain.
give him direction, he goes and does it.
Oh, okay.
He's our AI.
He's your, so it all goes back to the Board of Selectmen and the town
Pretty
administrator.
much, pretty much.
Laws are laws, right?
Yep,
Actually, that's why we're here tonight, because I wasn't gonna do it, because I've already done all
And
this.
the reason why I hesitated-
What we did.
Pardon?
Who do we let know about the?
Toby, just send it to
Toby.
Toby.
The reason why I hesitated about sending a one-time information from Jim, because it was addressed to both the Conservation Committee and the building. And
Okay.
my question to her was, can I file this, can I put a complaint in jointly? And she didn't get back to me till that Thursday morning, Toby, so I'm sorry. So poor Toby had to rush to put us on this agenda and said it has to be an informal meeting, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, see, Jen put it over to him because he was the one that was actually involved in the physical part of it, where really he works for us. So she should have just come here, but, you know, she's new too, so there's that. You gotta give everybody a little slack here.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
not like we're full-time.
Yeah, no, I know.
And she's at least getting paid, we're not.
Yeah.
That's true. And Toby's a town employee too, right? Not
Yeah.
Toby, I mean, Mr. Tignor is a town employee.
He's a town employee.
In moving,
Actually, she's our best town employee last year.
That's right.
Oh, good for
Number
you.
one.
And what did they give you?
He gave her a high.
The next paycheck, taking you to
in
dinner.
moving forward with DCR,
Right.
since they voiced concerns to us personally and witnessed what's going on, do they come back, or are they asked to come
For all
back?
intent and purposes, DCR is out of it, and DEP is out of it, because they've both been down here and said, we're all set, it's out of our jurisdiction, which it is. So now that dumps it back here, which is kind of sort of where it belonged in the first place.
I understood it as you're more in charge of the secondary water.
We're in charge of everything.
And-
They like to think they're in charge of it.
Okay.
They're our rubber stamp.
Well, they
No,
said you
weren't. They had
were.
nothing really to do with secondary.
That's true.
They said they only really
They
were
said their
concerned about
main concern is
primary.
primary.
Yeah,
And that's why,
because that's the actual law, the 310. But we do the secondary aquifers is what he's referring to, or she's referring to. And you are in the secondary aquifer, not all of it, but a lot of it.
yeah. Okay.
The primary is it, that's why we walked, and that's why I need the actual property lines. Because if it's in the primary, I have jurisdiction instantly,
Well, he had to contact a surveyor to do what he did.
and I wanna see that. That's my point.
I
Someone
make
put-
sure I
we didn't
check
put-
the
we-
paperwork.
We didn't put the red flags up, he did.
Yeah, well, he put them up for whoever was cutting his wood there.
Well,
Exactly.
the boundary markers are his responsibility,
Absolutely.
not yours and not ours.
And the other thing is, not to get into regulations, but the only one that can remove one of those markers is another surveyor. I'm an engineer, legally I can't remove those, only a surveyor can remove them.
Well, I find it unusual that 15 of them are all up in one area, and one is up in the area in contention, and there's God knows how many disappeared.
Well, he could have said, I'm gonna cut a lot of trees in this area, and I wanted extra flag, maybe 4 or 5 feet, that type thing. Usually we do them like every 100, but again, 100 feet there, who knows who's doing this?
Oh,
Could the
that's-
ones that are missing have been, taken out with the sludge coming down?
No,
We have no idea what happened to him.
no,
They're just gone.
well, his reaction was, because when Mr.
No, are they literally in the area where the sludge and
No, we're
stuff
not, the
was coming
sludge is
down?
we're talking about coming behind the property and into the driveway. Mr. Chase knows what I'm talking about, so it's,
So they couldn't have been washed out, is what I'm
no,
asking.
Correct.
these trees couldn't have.
From
I haven't
back-
seen
no.
it, so I
There
was
was
like-
nothing back
No.
there, everything is,
These trees were cut down. This isn't where the sludge is, in the drainage.
Right, but I'm
system.
asking about the markers, not the
Oh,
trees.
could they have come down?
Could the markers have been moved because of the sludge or the runoff coming
No.
down?
No,
No.
they had some puddling there, but when I saw it, I think there was like 1 or 2
Just
off
asking.
to the right, and that was it. I think there was only a couple there when I was there.
Yeah, I mean, now there's so many weeds there that have grown there, it's hard to,
Well, again, that's up to him. I need to see it.
yeah.
And then the board will come down, we'll do a site visit. We'll go right back to day 1 and do it all
And
over again.
we'll be,
Oh, we'll notify you,
We'll be in the
because we have to go on your property, so obviously I would notify you.
'Cause I know
And
the
then it will make more sense to the board once they actually see it.
Yes.
And remember, I've been there 10 times, I know the
Right.
property.
I have not seen it, so.
Yep.
But,
Okay.
yeah, DEP, DCR, they kind of sort out of it, but I think we can do everything we need done in-house here, so to speak.
Okay, hopefully you think our complaints are we're not just trying to do it to be difficult. It's.
You know, I'm trying to be
a
fair to
detriment
him
our
too,
property.
you know, but right now, the onus is on him to answer these questions.
All means, Mr. Miola has the right to develop his property, but it has to be done correctly.
Yeah,
And
and
it
I have no
can't
problem with that.
infringe on our property.
But like I said, you know, to me, it was kind of foolish, because I'm gonna bang heads with you again when I do whatever I'm gonna do. Why wouldn't you try to get along
Oh,
with me? right away?
being head with Mr.
Yeah.
Miola. Okay.
You know, it's just, business-wise, it was just foolish, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just-
Well, from what I understand, if he does do that, the abutters can be at meetings and.
Oh,
object to
absolutely.
things and, yeah.
Absolutely. Anybody within 300 feet. So even the people across the street,
I know, I did my homework, I even got a list of the abutters
yeah.
to see who was.
Well, he'll need green
involved in
cards
this.
to prove that he did it. That's one of the things you have to have
A what?
when you come in. They have green cards that we mail out,
Okay, oh,
that you
yes.
sign for,
Okay,
you know,
yeah, I
and you
know
have to
what you're
present
talking
those
about.
at the meeting.
Yep, I do know what you're talking about. Okay, so you'll get back to us?
I will get back to you, we got a little bit of business to do, and then we'll figure out when we're gonna have the meeting,
Okay,
and
that's,
then we'll meet with him, and after we meet with him, we'll tell you where we're going with it.
like I said, the trees aren't growing back, took down there, that's for sure.
I put the trees back.
No, not mature ones, that's for sure.
No, well,
And then all the other issues that have come around.
Maybe we could still,
Sure.
enough that's gotta be done that we can make you whole that way. You know, try to do it that way. And see if we can help him out with wherever he's going, with whatever he's gonna do, I don't know.
Yeah, like we said, as long as he abides by the bylaws and is doing it by the
But I'm not
book.
much of golf, I pitch a putt, I'm not too bad at it.
My personal experience, he's gonna have a real issue with lumens. Lights are going to be an issue.
It could be.
I've tried, and the building commissioner in Acton said, go ahead, you can get your permit in about 2.5 years. Because-
It's tough though.
Oh, it's a brutal town to work in.
They all those, Lincoln,
Well,
Lexington, they're all bad.
Redid the parking lot, the asphalt, and part of it had to be ripped up.
Yeah.
And we said, all right, asphalt engineering said, we'll do it at night, and the building commissioner said, you got better luck hitting the lottery twice than having the town of Acton let you put lights up.
Temporary lights, never happens.
Because it's all by lumens.
Yeah,
which
everything is lumens.
It's not LED and incandescent anymore, everything is lumens.
And he's also got decibels up there too.
Right.
I don't know what they got for music, but every place I've ever played, they have music.
He's trying to turn us into Kimball's.
Which
I don't know.
is nice, but he's just gotta follow the
Actually,
law.
it can't be too loud, because I'm on the hill, so I can hear him.
You just, I mean, when they play there, I mean, they play music in that, with the ice cream is that building aside.
Yeah, he
there's
has like a
music, you don't
little
hear it.
piano or something there, yeah.
Yeah, but, like we said, we're not trying to make it, we just want him to abide by the law.
He doesn't appear to be a bad guy, I just think he needs maybe some guidance.
I don't think he's used to be said no to,
That could be. That could
like you
be.
can't do something.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for
listening.
Okay, can
Bye, thank you very
All
much.
right.
Good night.
I get these reproduced?
Yes.
Just a couple copies here. You can keep yourself a copy. Just so we can read that.
All right, so, everybody want one?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
But we can do this other stuff right now.
um,
You don't
I
need
should
any, right?
wait.
No, no, go ahead. There's nothing. We're just gonna do the other
Can
business.
you maybe just email that to us?
Oh, yeah, you wanna do that? Is
just
that better
email
for
it
you?
to us.
That
The
works.
scanner is not working,
Just, yeah,
so I should make copies of these.
All
because, yeah,
right, the
scanner-
minutes. Can we get a vote
I
on the
make a
minutes?
motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second?
A
All in
second?
favor?
Yeah?
Yes.
You mean the minutes?
Okay, next meeting is
Very short
gonna
one,
be,
yes.
next, is gonna be November 6th, but
Yep.
when do you wanna meet with Neola?
I don't care.
What's a good day for you
You
guys?
tell me.
My nights are pretty open, so
This week I'm free. The week after that,
How about Thursday night? Thursday night?
I'm
No?
not available, yeah.
I can't, next week would be very difficult for me.
All right.
I mean, I could probably do Wednesday,
Wednesday I've got something, I don't think what it is.
but yeah, cannot do Thursday and can't do Friday.
Wednesday, what am I doing Wednesday?
I don't know, October 4th. What are you doing?
I don't know. Oh, cardiologist. That's,
We've all got
Details,
doctor's-
details.
We've all got
At
doctor's
night?
appointments this week.
no, it'd be during the day. But
Ah.
It's, I usually see him like 3, 4 in the afternoon. But again, yeah, I could do Wednesday night.
Yeah?
Wednesday night.
You wanna do it a little earlier? Is earlier better for you guys or not?
I don't care, I'm free,
Yeah, I'm free.
What if we did like 5 o'clock right on top of
Okay.
everything and just be
5
done?
o'clock.
Yeah.
So-
Does that work for you or not? I mean, 6 is, I don't
I
care, to
don't
me.
have my calendar, it should be okay.
Well, you're the one sending out the deal anyway, so if it's, 6 is better for you, just say 6.
It really doesn't matter. I don't think I have a problem with 5.
All right, then I'll call Mark and,
Is that
I
gonna
told him
be
I'd call him
here
now.
Where are we
Here.
gonna, where are we gonna meet?
No, me right here.
Here, okay.
Meet
wait
here,
a minute.
okay.